G'day everyone, my name is Jacob. I just wanted to do a little video about one of the latest, mods, if you will, to come out of Australia from Raptor Superchargers, and it's been a bit of a hot topic in all the forums and the Facebook groups and pages and whatnot. I thought I'd take the opportunity to share with you, well, firstly a bit about myself, but more importantly, a little bit about my experience with the Raptor Superchargers ECU flash tube. I have done a fair amount of Ks in an FJ. All up, I've covered well over 100,000 Ks over 2 FJs. The current one I have now is a 2015. I've had it since brand new. This one here's got 65,000 Ks on the clock. 65 hard Ks too. This is a purpose-built to an off-road rig, so, and it's certainly not a daily, only really comes out to go on the long hauls or the fun trips, if you will. So I'm quite acquainted with this car in particular, and I don't think I've ever jumped in the car without having my OBD plugged in and reading off all the sensors. So I just can't drive my car without my dash command and seeing what the engine's doing, what the transmission's doing. I feel as though I know my car quite intimately in all and or most conditions. This car in particular is quite heavily modified, accessory wise, engine wise, and running gear wise. It's close to stock. It's been running BP98 pretty much since brand new. Also, the only other mod I did, and only recently too, was the airbox mod. I heard people rave about that and how much of a difference they think it made. I'll be very honest with you, I've noticed very, very minimal difference. But then again, all the accessories and the 33s that I'm running probably attribute to that. Without sounding too confident, I'm comfortable enough to say that I know this car and I know FJs and how they drive, quite well. So when I saw this Raptor Superchargers ECU flash tune come out, I was super excited. I reached out to Tim to have a bit of an initial discussion, and my gosh, the passion that sits behind that guy when it comes to these 1GR engines is phenomenal. There was another mob in Melbourne that announced their ability to remap the FJ ECU. Some of you might have seen those from some of the earlier forum threads. I contacted those guys a couple of years ago, and the conversation was quite, blunt. It was as simple as, that's the price, bring it in with 98 fuel, and we'll tune it. They weren't answering any questions. I had about sort of parameters are modified. I'm by no means an ECU expert, but I kind of know what some of the cowboy tuners do to sort of achieve some big numbers. I've been around some remap cars for some time, and I've seen good tuners, and I've also, I can't say I've first-hand experienced bad tuners, but I've certainly heard some horror stories of people who just clean out a remap completely, turn off knock sensors, or sometimes they might actually overfuel them. So I'm saying all of that because when I was speaking to this other mob, they just weren't answering any of the queries I had. So this is just my personal experience. In no way, shape, or form is that a representation of the way they do business with anyone else. Just saying that because I know some of you guys will be familiar with what I'm talking about. The kicker with Tim for me was, first of all, his passion and his expertise in talking me through sort of the effort. It's more than effort. It was. Hearing him talk through the way he's developed this it just blew my mind. And I encourage you. I'm sure I'm going to have time to have an hour-long conversation with each and every one of you. But I was certainly lucky enough to get that from him. Obviously, been familiar with him for a very long time, watching him through all the forums and the threads and the groups and whatnot. And he just delivers so much value to the FJ community, really. He's always jumping in and commenting and giving his feedback and opinion. And being a business, there might be a little bit of sort of bias towards one thing, but that's a passion that comes from Tim, and I can see that he tries to be as objective as possible. And I guess I'm saying that because I know me as a person, if I can't say anything valuable, or if I can't contribute to to someone in a constructive way, I just want to say anything. Speaking to Tim, he's one of those blokes that, you know, I'll say it one more time, like his passion really seeps through, you know, his voice. When I see sort of how he contributes to those threads, like, you know, he's adding a lot of value for us FJ folk, and yeah, I just, if I can help him in any way, shape, or form with giving, you know, an honest, a non-biased comparison of what the FJ is capable of after the ECU flash tune, and give you some comparatives, you know, compared to the stock figures, then why not? Like, it makes sense too. So, sorry if I bored you, but yeah, if you're still watching, stick around, and I'll share some of my OBD2 parameters of the FJ in some of my normal driving conditions. We'll get this thing flash tuned, and I'll put it through the same, I guess, scenario, so we can do some, you know, real life, honest comparison between the two. And, you know, if this thing turns out to be what it's made out to be, then I guess for circa $1,200, like, it's almost a no-brainer. So yeah, stay tuned. So first, a bit about the FJ. As you can see, it's running the full steel bull bar there. Got the winch plus steel cable, the full underbody protection, fairly stock underneath the bonnet. We've got the roof rack there, light bar and twin awnings, 285/70/17 on steelies. It's usually quite loaded up in the rear. Got the full drawer fridge and jerry can system. Got some tools in the back and a recovery gear. Got the campware and battery set up in there, so carrying about constant 150 kilo load in the rear. That's the FJ. So by now I've told you a little bit about my FJ Cruiser. All I wanted to do now was give some comparison in real world driving conditions. A little bit more about characteristics I've picked up about it. I've already mentioned that I never drive the car without having my OBD2 monitor plugged in, and as you can see there on the screen, there is essentially the dash command reading some of the PID. So I'll quickly step you through what I have there. So the first widget, TFT, is the transmission temperature. That's the fluid in the actual pan. The second widget is TFTC, so that's at the torque converter of the same. Now your LPK, obviously litres per 100 kilometres. That's my instant consumption there. What you'll also see down the bottom, which is going to be of use, is the ABS load, which I believe stands for absolute load. That's the that's a percentage load that the engine is actually working at. And then obviously there's the last widget there, revs, but probably easier to watch on the actual cluster there. So what I am doing now is I'm actually climbing a bit of a hill climb there, and as you can see, the torque converter is about 10 degrees hotter than the pan, and I'm in 4th gear, so that's telling me immediately that the torque converter is not locked. And as you can see, the consumption was quite high and the car was working to get up that little hill. One thing I noticed is when the torque converter is locked, the temperature of that is about 1 or 2 degrees above the actual pan temperature. So probably worth noting here, and this is sort of how I measure how the car is working. So it's obviously my litres per 100. I'm on flat road at the moment in drive, and not really able to get the torque converter in. It's actually dropped down to 40 there. Anyone who's driven an FJ knows it's got the aerodynamics of a brick, so I mean the slightest bit of headwind will make the biggest difference as opposed to having a bit of a tailwind on you. In fact, I'm slipstreaming behind this truck now, so that is obviously helping me out a bit, and I'm just kind of coasting at the moment. So back to what I say, one of the things I tend to notice about the behaviour of what the engine performance and power is doing is, if you look at that bottom left widget on the OBD dash command, the absolute load. So I'm going to tell you a couple of characteristics, and I'm going to try and put it into practice here. So the torque converter is a bit hard to get locked in drive going anything above 80 k's. Obviously with the wind resistance that tends to happen on these cars. what I have noticed is that when I do manage to lock it in as it is now, you'll watch the torque converter drop down to similar temperature of the pan. The revs aren't dancing around, and I am getting the car onto 100 k's now, and I can manage to maintain speed. Funnily enough, the car doesn't sound too loud, and I don't feel like I'm driving it too hard, so I know I don't have much of a headwind on me at the moment. But you'll see the road's going to go up a little bit, and I'm going to put my foot down just a bit to try and maintain my speed. And there in drive, I'm using 70 litres per 100, 65% engine load. Now, one thing I did notice is that as the hills start to get a bit higher, or become more of an incline, the only way I can maintain the car's speed in drive is by keeping the absolute load under 75%. Now, what I'm going to do, I can't really demonstrate on this front here. I'm going to give it a little bit more, and you're going to watch, once I get to 75% absolute load, which is not hard to do on any incline, you're going to watch the torque converter slip and the car just work a bit harder to get to maintain speed. So I'll do that now. And there it is, it's slipped. So I'm still in drive, but I'm slipping on the torque converter, and I'm watching the temperature in that rise up now. As you can see, it's going up there. So this is a constant battle in this car here. I'm just finding that real low end torque is not really there. As soon as I'm fighting any form of wind resistance, doing over 80 kilometers, it's not really that driver friendly. And you know, to that note, this is how I always drive it. They're riding fourth. I can use cruise control. It rarely slips in fourth unless I'm on a really big climb. And the absolute load on the engine is actually working. No, I mean, whilst it's working, revving a lot higher, it's actually working a lot less harder, if that makes sense. Kind of like the longer the string, the less effort to pull it theory is kind of what's happening right there. And you can see my real world fuel consumption there. So, plodding along on a highway doing 110, it sits at around 2700 RPM, and that's where this Raptor tune is claiming to have its big low end increases. I'm particularly interested in what the low end torque increases are. Slightly lower than that. Say around 2000 RPM. I think if that torque is there in that rev range, then I think this should not dance around like a ballerina on the freeway whilst in drive. So I'll get the torque converter locked up now in fourth. Being a bit cheeky here, but it's all in the name of science. Alright, so there I'm going to lock 100 Ks. So you would have seen the absolute load worked a lot less there. I didn't really get a chance to lock eyes on it. We're down to 40 Ks over here. Alright, so this is actually quite a big hill climb, and there is no way I'd even dream of leaving my car in drive, or even forced. In fact, I'll bring it down in a second, just to even get some torque to keep it moving. So I'll try to leave it in drive now, coming up a nice incline. Just locked in on the torque converter. And just as you see right then, the torque converter just let revs come straight back up, just accelerating in the slightest bit to maintain speed in drive. So, you know, a car sort of wanted like this, which I think a lot of FJs are, you know, running the 285 77E, you know, running your standard bull bars, winches, lift kit, roof rack. I mean, that sort of weight and resistance adds to these issues, and you know, I think a lot of us drive it, so it's going to be really interesting comparing what this tune actually, or what sort of potential it will unlock with the car. So yeah, this is really it. I just wanted to be able to get the car up to a decent speed in some changing terrain conditions. You know, show you sort of what my car does on the OBD, dash command reader. Give you a bit of a look at the instrument cluster, to sort of, and also a bit of a dash cam there. It's more or less to give you those sort of three visuals showing all the parameters on monitor. Give you a bit of a brief on sort of what I look out for, what I'm tracking. You know, right now I'm doing 90 kilometers using 16, 17 litres per 100 in drive. And yeah, as soon as I change, I can't even use cruise control in this scenario because it will just not stay locked at all. But you know, like right now it's about to unlock as I put my foot down to maintain speed. There you go. Like that's just not really drivable, and that's why I usually just do this, knock it over into fourth, as you see there on the instrument cluster. Put cruise on like that. And yeah, I just let the car do its thing like that on the freeway. I'm upwards of 16 litres per 100 as an average that way. You know, I can potentially bring it down to 15 litres on those longer runs, but that's me not using cruise control and trying to sort of, just washing off speed on those hill climbs and whatnot. And yeah, there's just no value in driving it that way, compared to the time saving benefits of just leaving it on cruise at 110 and plodding along. So yeah, in short, that's really it. And if you have any questions, do reach out. But I'm planning to actually run the same scenario once this tune is done. That's it from me. And yeah, again, if I haven't lost you this far into it, yeah, stick around and we'll see what happens. I've received the Raptor Superchargers Powergate. I'm not going to spend any time sort of stepping you through what that process looks like. What I have got up here though is what you basically need to get started. So there's obviously the Powergate flash tuner that Raptor send out. Make sure you got your instructionals. Tim does suggest getting a stylus, so I have one of those ready to go to get the little device here going. And the last thing you need, which is often forgotten about, is this thing over here, beer, because it just makes things a little bit easier and makes the time go by a little bit quicker. So I think anyway, but stick around and we'll see how we go. Alright, so I followed the process from Tim to get the car flashed. I am about to drive it for the first time, so this will be my initial reaction and first thoughts, and then I'll re-drive the same route that I recorded for you previously, and we'll check some of the stats then. Alright, so I've barely gone above 40k so far, and no noticeable difference really in this speed range. I must say though, the accelerator does feel a tad more responsive, almost like you're driving with one of those wind boosters. From what I've read and heard so far, it looks like anywhere in the vicinity of 80k's plus is where the money is, so let's see how we go. There's definitely more responsiveness in the throttle taking off, so I guess that's the real initial first thoughts. Alright, so just did a bit of a lap. Initial thoughts, not too bad. Let's do that loop and see what the stats say. So what I'm about to do now is the same loop I did pre-tune. As promised, we're going to do a bit of a real world driving comparable. So by doing this loop, you'll see the FJ pretty much in the same form that it was when I did it pre-tune, doing it again post-tune. The only variable that I can account for this time is that I'm carrying slightly less fuel. Before we do that though, I just want to share a little bit more about this tune. So I've recently done a 440k round trip over the last few days just for a short weekend away. The drivability of the car has changed. So, you know, doing some of the short stints around town, I was struggling to sort of really find where the key differences were, but you know, sitting in the car for 3 hours each way and putting it through a variety of driving styles, I was actually able to keep it in drive pretty much 90% of the way and use cruise control. And that was with the car different to its current form now. That was the car fully loaded up with all the camping equipment, and it had a big double swag on the roof causing a whole lot of drag. So it did beat my expectations in the way that it drove. And whilst the fuel consumption on that trip returned about 15.5 litres per 100 kilometres, which is about half a litre less than what I would normally experience, it was just really refreshing to drive in fifth gear and letting the car do its thing with cruise control. As I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, driving the car in fourth in cruise would use a little bit more, and I couldn't try, I didn't see the value of trying to reduce it, just having to drive it the whole time. I found I was more comfortable letting the fuel consumption be a bit higher so I can use cruise control in fourth, but did not have to do that this time. It just left it in drive and the car was comfortably doing its thing. Yeah, look, I'll let you make up your own mind once you watch this loop, and we'll see how the car goes. So this is quite a steep incline, and so far I'm not really measuring any differences in the way the car's sort of performing up this hill climb, trying to assist the speed limit at 70. You know, what you just saw there in the way of fuel consumption, the way the gears are shifting, in my opinion, and without looking at without comparing the data in real time, yeah, it felt pretty much the same. But this next stretch right here, where we get a chance to get to 100, and before the next roundabout, that's where we're going to see a lot of the test here in real time. That'll actually be really interesting for you to see. We'll get the car up to 100, get it up in activate cruise, and just watch it come along. Alright, cruise control, drive. Fifth gear down a bit there. Just feel like we're from the EA. Let's see how she goes on the next run. Yeah. One thing I did fail to mention, which wasn't so much the case on the pre-tune, was is the fact that it is a little bit new today. Not a great deal with the car, certainly feels out, and I can feel some sort of crosswinds here. But yeah, let's see how it goes on this stretch. Back up to 100. Cruise control is now in a bit more of a flat surface than the last run. K's there flat, sitting at about 1750 RPM. Fuel consumption is fluctuating anywhere between, I don't know, 12 and 18 litres per 100, depending on the terrain. But as you can see, it is in drive and not bouncing around. It's actually quite refreshing. So we've just dropped down a bit, coming up another little steep incline. I typically expect it to sort of slip here, so let's see if it does. Hovering around the 63-65%. Absolute load on the engine too. So just a reminder that this is quite a heavily modified quite a rather heavy FJ. Climbing in there a bit more now. I'm not sure if you can actually see that in the video or not. There you go, cruise off, slow it down. So one of the interesting parts for me is going to be going up that hill there. I did mention earlier that, you know, potting along around town doesn't feel like there's been much of a difference, but that hill climb that we're about to come up to, that you would have seen in the previous video, and I know you can see that it's quite steep in that video. I'm actually interested to see how the car handles there. I have not put it through a similar driving style since the tune, so yeah, let's see how it goes then. So I'm just driving it with the throttle there now, no cruise control here. Dropping down into a big valley. I do apologise about the nighttime drive. I'm going to back off and leave some space between that car. I really just want to get up at here and see how she feels. Alright. Yeah, there's definitely better throttle response there. And I'm actually not shifting through the gears like I did in the pre-tune, just letting the car do its thing. So, an immediate difference I noticed there was pre-tune, I would actually slam the car down to second gear. As I recall, I did do that on the pre-tuned drive, just because there's a lack of throttle response, but also the shift points don't really, they lag quite a bit. So yeah, there's an immediate obvious difference there, and that's something I haven't really spoken about yet. I do find the shift points since the tune are much more responsive, so I'm actually not sure if it is the throttle response or the way the car tends to shift down that makes it feel more responsive, but there's certainly a difference there. I'll let you sort of be the judge of that if you do get the tune and have a bit of a drive, or are fortunate enough to drive a car that has had the tune. And there's been a few people messaging me about it, so I'll happily open the books for them to give the car a drive. Yeah, I guess get a bit of a preview for the money you're going to spend on this. So, in terms of the loop, I think that's it. There's nothing really that I can share in terms of comparable. I will leave this reeling for another minute or so you can compare the data up until the next roundabout for the pre and post drive. I am to my best driving the car the way I normally would in this terrain. The only difference being that it's just in drive. Obviously not using cruise control, just driving on the throttle there. And if I haven't lost you, yeah, do stick around. I'm just going to do a final thoughts and a final review on that. Just to give you my, yeah, just my final thoughts on it. Alrighty, so final verdict time. What I wanted to do was show you everything pre-tune, everything post-tune, give you a bit of information about the car in between, give you some of my initial thoughts. What I didn't want to do was, get the car on a dyno and give you my pre and post figures. I thought there'll be more value in giving some real world driving scenarios. And I know there's some variables whereby I can't drive the car exactly the same way in both instances. And that the car might have been slightly lighter on one run than the other, and the weather conditions and whatnot. I think I've done enough to understand what this tune has to offer, and I just want to give you some of my final thoughts on whether the Raptor Superchargers power gate is actually worth getting into. My response is actually threefold. I think if you're running a stock FJ, or an FJ even on 265 7017s, which are the factory size tires, I think it's a winner. I can't say that I know that firsthand because no, I haven't driven one. I think the difference I'm experiencing with my car is enough to sort of validate that. I think if you're running an FJ with 285 7017s, which most of us are, I think if you're on the lighter side, I think there'll be some value in there, definitely. If your car is as weighed down as mine, running the 285 7017s, I think for you to see the value, I think you'd have to be very intimate with your car. You'd have to understand and know what it's doing in certain situations for you to really appreciate what this flash tune actually can accomplish for you. I know most of us are. We're quite aware of how the car works, what the transmission does in certain situations, where our peak performance is. But I know there are some people who run cars similar to mine, and when I speak to them, they never really talk about manually shifting through the gears or driving it in fourth on the freeways when towing or anything like that. And I think that maybe those people won't see the value in it. I don't think they'll feel that enough to justify it. So that is my most honest, that is my most humble opinion about all of this. I'm certainly glad that I've gone down this path. I'm looking forward to being able to do those long drives a bit more comfortably, and I certainly can't wait to do this comparison again when I'm running slightly smaller tires. I hope you found this information as valuable as I hope, and hope I've contributed back to the group in some way, shape or form. Thank you.